Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on our Digital Ministry Support Network live stream. Today, we're going to be talking about websites, we're going to be talking about SEO, and how you can make your website the most effective and successful that it can be to reach your goals. Today, joining us, we have two lovely ladies from the Center for Online Evangelism. We have Kim and Stephanie with us today. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for
Tell us a
having
little bit
us.
about yourselves and the work that you do.
Well, I'm Kim Wagner. I have been with the Center for Online Evangelism for the last almost 8 years, and I have specialized in search engine optimization and just what it takes to make your website appear when you want it to appear for the searches you want it to appear for.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Stephanie?
My name is Stephanie Bergsma. I've been with the Center for Online Evangelism for almost a year and a half. And I do search engine optimization, and I also do kind of a little bit more on the content side of it than more of the analytics side of it. So we kind of all help each other out and each have our own strengths, and it's just lots of fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. We're really looking forward to hearing from you today about some SEO practical tips and tricks that our audience can take with them. So, without further ado, I'll hand the time over to you two ladies, and we look forward to hearing what you have today.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Of course.
So yeah, like we said, I'm Kim Wagner. We work for the Center for Online Evangelism. So what we do there is we help churches, schools, and ministries, specifically with their online presence, to make sure that the effort that you put into your website, you reap those rewards. And so we know that websites can be kind of intimidating and stuff. So we try to take the time to make things simple, and to help out with that as much as possible. So let's just jump into it. Today we're going to talk about SEO tips and best practices. But first off, what is SEO? Why do you need it? What could you do? SEO really simply is just the steps and the processes you have to take if you want to be found in a search engine like Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo, whatever you use. If you go to a search engine and you type in Olive Garden and you find the Olive Garden closest to you, an SEO has done that. They've taken the time to optimize a website and to make sure that you get what you're looking for. And we do that through simple steps. So sometimes it can seem really intimidating and daunting, but we try to break it down into things that you can actually use. You do want to be found in search engines because you have something that people need. Your church, you have this great hope, and you need to pass that on and spread that around to other people. And so that's what SEO allows you to do. While it's really easy to think of SEO as a complex, out of reach thing, the truth is that SEO is the best and fastest way to reach the millions and honestly billions of people who are searching online for the hope and the answers that you already have. There are 70,000 Google searches each second. So just think about that. That's 1 second, like 70,000, another 70,000, another 70,000. 5.4 billion Google searches a day, and people tend to trust reviews online more than they trust or as much as they trust a close friend. So online, it's a big part of our life. The truth is that Google is the new meeting hall, especially now in the time of COVID and post-COVID, but it's always been the meeting hall. People have been using this tool for a long, long time, and it's not going away. So using your website to be in that meeting hall is really, really important. There are specific things you can do to make sure that you're in the meeting hall on the first page of Google, and and also to stand out in a way that draws people to you. It's not good enough if you just show up on the first page of Google if no one clicks on you. So what can you do to really bring people into your website? That's what we're going to talk about today.
So we've got 5 tips for improving your site, and we have some good actionable tips that you can use to do this. So fairly simple. So the first thing we're going to cover is pick one topic for your page. The next thing is give the visitor the information they're looking for. Third is remove old, outdated. So number one, Kim.
Oh, yeah. So number 1, pick one topic for your page. I was looking for an image that really spoke to me about this, and this kind of gross image came up. But it reminds me of what happens when I go to a website and I'm looking at a page and there's just a ton of kind of misaligned information. So while it might seem convenient to have as much information as possible on one page, you want everyone to know what your hours are, what your latest pastor blog is, and when your Christmas service is. That's so much information, and it's not truly helpful to what people are looking for when it comes to why they're coming to their site. People come to your site for specific information typically. So they want to know when your hours of service are. They want to know about that Christmas program. The other stuff, while good, needs to be in an appropriate place. So when someone comes to your website and they don't find what they're looking for immediately, they end up leaving. So organized content allows your user to find the information they're searching for quickly. It's kind of like this picture here, actually. If I want red yarn, I know exactly where to go to get that red yarn. If I want green yarn, etc. The same thing goes for your content. Now, sometimes you're going to have your Christmas program. Maybe you need links to some other pages so that people can get other information. A great thing to do in that situation is to use internal linking. So maybe they want to be part of the Christmas program. So you use an internal link. You just link over to that page where people can sign up to be part of your Christmas program. But the people who are just looking for the information about where to go and how to attend, they get all of that in one stop without being overloaded with information. Let's move on to tip number 2.
So the second tip is kind of part and parcel with the first one. Give the visitor the information they're looking for. So like Kim mentioned, you want to cover your topic, but you want to do it in such a way that you're not overloading them either. But covering your topic is very important because you have a church website. So people are coming there specifically looking for things like maybe sermons or hours or your pastoral staff, things like that. So an example, if you were to walk into an office supply store and you're looking for pens and you're walking around the store and you just can't find pens anywhere, you would go find somebody that works there and you say, hey, I can't find pens. Can you show me where they are? And if they were to say to you, oh, sorry, we actually don't sell pens here, you would be very confused and frustrated because that's what every office supply store should sell. So it's similar with your church website, where you want to give the visitors information that they're looking for. So if the page is a contact page, give all the ways that they can contact you. Give your phone number, your address, hours of operation, email address, maybe social media pages. But something that's very important is make sure that if you're giving them those contact points, make sure that you actually are active on those, because that's another point of frustration is if somebody were to email you or maybe message you on Facebook or something like that, and you don't answer because nobody's really monitoring those platforms. That's something very important to keep in mind as well. If you're discussing a big topic, you might need to organize the information and create multiple pages to cover the information in a readable format. For example, if you are covering a blog post on, say, the 3 angels messages, that's not something that you just want in one big, huge, long post, because you're going to lose the readers probably before they get to the end of it. And that's not what you want. So break it down into more digestible sized articles. So it is okay to have long pages when you need them, but just keep in mind breaking things down maybe into more obvious different sections. And similarly, it's also okay to have shorter pages if it covers the information. For example, maybe you have bios of your staff members or pages about individual church ministries. Don't go, into all kinds of detail about your health ministry page. If you don't have to go into the benefits of a vegetarian diet and why all these things are important and recipes and this type of thing. Just talk about your health ministry page. Keep it short in that situation. So long is okay, short is okay. Just be mindful of each individual situation.
Absolutely. All right. So tip number 3 is one that is especially near and dear to my heart. So information online, we kind of divide it into 2 categories. One we call evergreen, which is going to be your content that's always useful, it's always helpful, and it's always relevant. So a contact us page, that's going to be an evergreen page. Your church probably isn't moving an entire location. It's always going to be there. Your hours of operation are always going to be the same. That's a great example of an evergreen page. And then the other kind of content that we have is seasonal content. And so this is going to be more like your Christmas program or upcoming events at your church. Those sorts of things that come and they have a season and then they go away. And so it's really important for you to understand what kind of content you have on your website to know when you need to keep something and when you need to either remove something or update it. More isn't always better. And I know it's really tempting to be like, oh, we have 100 pages on our website. That means that we have a great website. Well, not necessarily. If 98 of those are from the 98 past Christmases you've had, that's not really useful, right, to your visitors. So while it's tempting to keep up reminders of past events or old blog posts, you don't need to be scared to remove or update that out-of-date content. Now, sometimes updating is exactly what you want to do. We work with someone who has a VBS page, and they just kind of, when VBS season comes, they update it with the new information. When VBS is over, they say on that page, we'll see you next year for VBS, and then they start the page up again. So if you want to keep your kind of seasonal content updated that way, that's a great way to keep those pages active and people can find information. But again, you have to gauge how much time do I have to really devote to updating all of these pages. Sometimes it's better to just take the page down and put it up again next year. Tip number, I think 4. Yeah, tip number 4.
So this is one of my favorite tips because it's so easy to do. Anybody can do it. And if you're using a content management system like WordPress or just any other one that you can just drop in information in like a prompt in a box, this is super easy. But there's good ways to do it and bad ways to do it. So one thing, the first one is a compelling page title. That's every page should have that. So you can see here in the picture on the screen, the page title here is prophecy. And that's what you'll see when you do a Google search. It'll come up on your results page. It's that blue link that you would click on. So that's the page title. You want an engaging meta description. And the meta description, if you're unaware of what that is, it's just a little description underneath. And some sort of media like a video or photo that really adds to the visual engagement of a page. So on the next slide, we have some actionable tips. So for a page title, these are some good tweaks. You want to ask questions. When I'm writing a page title, I often will think, what kind of page titles do I click on? Like what do they say that compels me to click on it more than another page? So things like asking questions. For example, have you ever wondered if God hears your prayers? Things like that. ask a question. 30 to 40 characters is generally how long you want to have it, because Google will cut it off at a certain point, and it just looks much nicer and easier to click on if you see the whole thing there. Emotions or power words. You can just do a quick search on what a power word is, and you'll get all kinds of lists about things like that. But they're just words that have been shown to help us, just give us emotions, whether it's sad, happy, excited, any type of things like that. So you want to look up some of those words and maybe include those if it's relevant. Things that generate curiosity, and how-tos. So when you include things like that in your page title, studies have shown that people will click on your titles a lot more often. Meta descriptions are very similar, except the only difference really there is 160 characters is best practice, or it will be cut off. If you don't put a meta description in, Google will just pull something out of your content, and more often than not, it gets cut off, and it really doesn't say what you want the description to say to somebody on that search page. For example, you could say something like, join us for a unique opportunity to learn more about the secrets of the Bible. That's, it really gets people interested. It gets people wanting to know more. You could say, discover why Adventism is one of the fastest growing Christian denominations. Things like Adventism and cornflakes, how are they related? Stuff like that. You want people's interest to be piqued. You don't just want to put something boring that everybody else has. So something like that is just a little bit of research is all it takes. And look at what other people are doing who have high ranking sites, and just check out what they're doing. And that's a practice that we do too. We just look at the competition and see what they're writing, see how they're doing things, and just take some tips from them. Images are the third thing that you want to really make sure that you have optimized. Images are just a great thing to have on your site. If you don't have the budget or the ability to have your own unique images that you can take and edit yourself, there are a few stock photo sites that are really, really good. We have the link at the end of the presentation in the slides. But when you do have an image on your page, you always want to make sure that you include a descriptive alt text. Alt text just means an alternative text. And what that is meant for is for screen readers, and it also is being used in Google search as well, where if a person has a disability and they use a screen reader, this is what the screen reader will read. So if you don't put anything in there as an alt text, it will just read the file name, which is usually just a bunch of messed up letters and symbols and things like that, which doesn't really mean anything to the person. So this will help them to have an accurate picture in their mind of what this photo looks like. So an okay alt text for this picture that you see here would just be muffins. That's what it is. It's just muffins. But for a more descriptive alt text, a better one would be white plate with a stack of blueberry muffins on a wooden table. If you close your eyes and I describe both of those, if I use both of those descriptions to you, the second description would give you a much. So I think number 5.
Oh yeah, some really good tips in there. We put together a whole list of things for you to help optimize your web pages. Tip number 5 is stay updated. So you are probably working with a platform like Adventist Church Connect, or maybe WordPress or Wix. These are all platforms that create websites, basically, and they're constantly working on making sure that your website is as strong as it can possibly be. And that means that you need to go in and make sure that you're updating your website. So a lot of times you'll get an email saying, hey, it's time to update, this part of your website, this plugin of your website. It's very simple on WordPress. If you just log in and you go into your admin portal, at the top, you'll see a bunch of notifications if you have things that need to be updated. And for the most part, you can just click update and it will update it. Now, if you've been working with a web developer, you might want to just double check with them and make sure that updating that is going to be okay, because they might be in the middle of something. But for the most part, just pressing that update button, it's going to give your website so much more health and just make it a stronger website, because that's what the goals of these platforms is. So if you do not update your website, you're not going to reap those benefits of those massive teams working on making your website better. So our first bonus tip, we have the time. Bonus tip number 1, use an HTTPS certificate. It used to be, back in the day, HTTP was just kind of standard. And now we've added the S for security, and everybody really likes that. And Google has said, hey, if you don't have this certificate, we won't rank you. And if you do get a visitor, what Google will do is they'll go and they'll click on your site, and before they can even get to your website, a sign will be thrown up that says, hey, this website is not secure. Are you sure you want to go there? And most people say, no, I don't want to go to a not secure website. So having things like that is just, it's a danger sign, so we don't want anything to stop people from getting to your website. So getting that HTTPS certificate, there are a lot of free versions. Again, there's a link to a resource at the end where you can get it put on your website, and you don't have to worry about this any longer. So, and then bonus tip number 2, page load speed. So this is a big thing that we're talking about in our community right now in the SEO industry. And it's something that is a little bit more niche. You're probably going to need to team up with a web developer, somebody who really understands how websites work and how they can reduce the time it takes for your pages to load. So this is all about user experience. Really, everything about SEO is about user experience, but you don't want your website to take more than 2 seconds to load, which is very, very, very fast. And it can be a struggle depending on what's on your website, what platforms you're using, what plugins you have. All of these things take more and more and more time. So working on your page load speed, that's a really big, important thing. We call these bonus tips, but they're probably 2 of the more important things. That HTTPS, if you don't have that right away, that's no good. And so things like this are really important to think about. The second one, this page speed, is really important, but again, you're probably going to have to work with a web developer to really get that really good page load speed that you want to see. I think that mostly wraps up what we have to talk about today. But just, again, really briefly, when you're looking at your website, just make sure that your content is organized so that everything that you need to find is in one appropriate place, that you have one topic per page, that you're removing your old and outdated information or you're updating it, that you're taking care of page titles and meta descriptions and having photos and images and media to really engage with your users, and then keeping your site updated, along with those 2 bonus tips of page speed and your HTTPS certificate. And you will be well on your way to having an extremely functional website that really helps the users that you're trying to reach. So Stephanie, did you have anything you wanted to add before we wrap up?
I just wanted to say that when you're going over your website, when you're looking at it, just trying to figure out how you can improve it in other ways, take a step back and look at it as if you're the user coming to the website. Sometimes when we look at our own websites for too long, we kind of miss things that we're used to seeing. Just even take maybe a good friend or a family member or coworker who can look at your site as well and give you some positive, some feedback, just some, constructive criticism on it, and just say, hey, I can't find this particular thing very easily. Maybe you should put it here. Or I really, I don't like how this looks because I find it very messy, or things like that. Just have a really good look at it. And because user experience is very important, as well as the content, you want to have a nice combination of both.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then just one last thing, I would just encourage you, if this is a little bit overwhelming, just take a minute and choose one thing that you can do, because we can all just start with one thing. Maybe your one thing is the next time you create a new page on your website, you're going to make sure that there's a page title and a meta description and an image. Maybe that's your one thing, and that's totally okay. But just take what you have and what you know you can do and start implementing it now. And before you know it, your website is going to be amazing. Thank you. Oh, and these are our resources, and they're really great. Check those out.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds good. And we will put the link to the resources in the comments. And when we post this video on YouTube and on our website, we will make sure that the resources are there for you as well. But thank you so much, Kim and Stephanie. I think we got some comments that some of those tips about, looking at your website as an outside user rather than as an admin sometimes helps us to pick up on some of those things. And maybe there's one thing from this presentation we can start with that will make it a little bit less overwhelming and a little bit more practical. So thank you so much, ladies, for coming on and joining us today and giving us this really practical and helpful information.
Thank you so much for having us.
We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye.
Okay.